There have been certain vehicles, cars and bikes throughout this entire top 50 countdown that many people probably wouldn't even have in their top 100, let alone their top 50. And there are certain cars here which I know for a fact that some of you guys really do like, stuff like the Lincoln Continental, the Cadillac 16, a number of others. But at the same time, many people, even those who do like them, wouldn't necessarily have them quite as high. Something like even recently with the Panos Esperante. 11th place is awfully high for a car like that, but that's just the way it is for me. With this one, I am denied about this one compared to the Lincoln, because they're very similar, they're great rivals, even in the world of Forza for instance. In Forza 4 they're great rivals to each other, and in a weird kind of way this is sort of like the Cadillac 16 in terms of why I like it. It's this car that, unlike the 16, doesn't have an inclination really towards performance. That one, at least to some degree, does, hence the fact that it has 1,000 horsepower. That's not the case with the Lincoln or this one, the Biarritz. Now for me it has to be the 59 Biarritz in particular. This car is referred to by a number of different names. Some call it the Eldorado, some call it the Biarritz, some call it the Series 62, and it's available most commonly as a convertible. And chances are the majority of the pictures that I'll feature in this episode will probably be of the convertible. Unlike the Lincoln though, I think I might actually buy this one even if it was the convertible, because with me the Lincoln Continental has to be the hard top for me to love it. The soft top, nowhere near as much. With this one, it's kind of the opposite. Now this one has a decent amount of spec. I believe it has more power than the Lincoln does, about 345 horsepower. A smaller engine though, and of course, in its own way, this is a much higher market vehicle than the Lincoln is. I mean, it's a Cadillac from the 50s. Of course it's higher. Now, there are very few cars, to me, which have the kind of style and presence in a very retro way, but that works very much so today, that the Biarritz has. This is such a great-looking car, and it's one which manages to be almost obscene in a number of ways. It's got way too much chrome. The rear fins are ridiculously big, and it's got so many lights on the front end that it's basically a carnival float, and yet it looks great. It manages to pull it off in a really convincing way, and I also love as well that the Biarritz has just enough of that jet age inspiration that was so popular in 1950s American design, but it does it in a way that doesn't look cartoonish, like many of those cars did, like the, I can't remember what it was called, the Pontiac, I think it may have even been the Firebird, or maybe it wasn't a Pontiac, maybe it was a Plymouth, but some of the jet car concepts basically from back in the day, I don't recall what they're all called, but they go over the top. They're designed to be, they're concept cars, but on a production scale, implementing stuff like wings, turbine-esque intakes, all that kind of stuff, it's not easy to do and to pull off, whereas to me this one possibly does it better than any other car actually. This is definitely one of those vehicles which, in a similar way to the Lincoln, definitely more so than the 16, for obvious reasons, being a concept, moves, for me, far beyond being just a favourite, and is definitely in my dream car camp. Now the problem for me, and this is the main reason why it doesn't feature even higher, is that there's one other vehicle in a similar kind of price range to this one, which I would choose over it. And that car is going to feature even higher in the list, and it's not one which you're expecting. Way back in this series, someone mentioned that a certain type of vehicle probably wouldn't be featured, which is understandable. You wouldn't assume that this type of vehicle which that person mentioned would be so high, but it's going to be, and it's the only one of its kind on my entire top 50 list. But we'll get to that in due time, of course. For now, though, this is definitely one of my dream cars. My dream spec for this one is a little bit more flashy than the Lincoln. As I said, with the Lincoln, I'd lower it on white walls with black paint. With this one, it would be more like kind of a Joker's sort of car. Probably a deep metallic purple with polished chrome. Again, white wall tyres. For me, you just can't beat white wall tyres on old school cars. It looks so good. The interior, I think I might go for white as well, to match the white walls, and also I think white just goes really well with purple. It would either be white for me, or red leather, because again, red and purple look fantastic together. White though, I don't know, I think I might have to go for that, because it complements the car. You can sometimes see these with custom white interiors, and it just, again, suits the ostentatious nature of the car. But that's the thing about these cars from the 50s and the 40s, which they managed to do so well. They're cars which are, in effect, ridiculously over the top in terms of being opulent for the time. A statement, for sure. And yet they're cars which people don't take offence at. If you see something like this Cadillac on the road today, which is more often than not seen in pale pink, people don't take offence at it. People love to see cars like this on the road. If you're in America, or in Europe, or in Britain, it doesn't matter where you are, it's just a car that attracts attention, it puts a smile on people's face, and I love everything about the Biarritz. It's not about performance, just like the Lincoln isn't either, but it just takes the cake a little bit more so for me than the Lincoln does in terms of whether or not I'd actually choose one over it. And I think I probably would. But that's it for this pick. Of course, you can click through at the end and see all of the previous episodes, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.